Hello, everyone watching live on Facebook, or maybe you're watching this later. Welcome to Flutespresso, episode 11. I'm Heather Neuenschwander here with Aaron Goldman. If you are new to Flutespresso, let's tell you a little bit about it. Flutespresso combines two of my favorite things, flutes and coffee. So we have a casual coffee chat here to just talk about what's going on with all things flute and everything in life. I'm here with, let's see here. I have to get refocused now. We have a giveaway, and I want to tell you about that first. So please do write in the chat comments here and tell us what you're drinking and where you're joining us from, and you will enter our giveaway to earn a Flute Specialist mug signed by Aaron Goldman. And Aaron drew this cool little drawing of a flute on it too, and I think there were some music notes. It's absolutely great. You're going to want to win this. So please do type in, tell us what you're drinking, where you're joining us from. If you have any questions that you want to ask Aaron, now's a great time, or just tell us hello. Now we're ready. Aaron Goldman, you are the principal flutist for the National Symphony Orchestra. And you've done so many amazing, wonderful things lately. But the first thing I'm going to ask you about is, what are you drinking?
Okay, so first I'll say I'm just drinking a cup of coffee. Thanks for the mug. It's a great mug. It's nice to have a cup of coffee with you and for all of those of you watching. And thank you to Flute Specialists. I've known Robert now, gosh, over 20 years. I think I first met him when I started playing my first job in Lansing, Michigan. And Rick Sherman introduced me to Robert. So I've known Robert a long time, and I'm very happy to call him a friend. So it's great to get to join you here on this chat.
Fantastic. I saw some of the comments coming in and wanted to make sure that we could see them. Yes, I love that you have a Michigan connection. When I saw in your bio the greater Lansing area, I was like, is it that Lansing?
It was that Lansing. So my first job after I graduated Eastman was I had a one-year position with the Greater Lansing Symphony Principal Flute. Rick Sherman took the year off, and I played for a year. I had actually started my master's degree at NEC to study with Paula Robeson, which was always a great dream of mine. But when I won the job, I thought, I'll take the year off and kind of see what happens. So I moved out to Michigan, lived in Lansing, played with the orchestra. Rick was very generous to take some time to give me some lessons while I was there also. And I remember I was there for the year thinking, I'll take every audition I possibly can to see if I can get another job before having to go back to school. So I took, I forget how many auditions that year. And it was the last one in the summer of it was 2000. It was the summer of 2000. And the very last audition was for the Orlando Philharmonic Principal Flute. And I remember my preliminary audition for that. I thought I played terribly. I think I put too much pressure on myself because I knew it was the last one. And I just sort of given up, and I left the venue. And the personnel manager had to like come running down the street saying, wait, you advanced. Anyway, so then I won the job in Orlando and never went back to NEC to study with Paula. But...
And never again walked out after the preliminaries, right?
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. You know, you take auditions, you never know. I mean, we are so in the moment, so self-critical of everything that's going on that it's very hard to get a sense of how you're actually playing an audition. So just let that all go through the process. Don't leave. You never know.
Do you think that helped you for the second round when you were like, I don't know, I thought I was already out of it, so what the hey?
Oh, for sure. So then my second round was like the best I played. I thought it was fantastic. And then in the finals, I remember there were two of us in the finals, and me, I think I was some young kid. I had had a year of experience in Lansing, but that was it. And the other person in the finals was much older and had played with a number of other orchestras. And in the finals, I thought, well, there's no way they're going to hire me. I mean, I'm just this kid. Yeah, but they took a chance on me and gave me the job. And Yeah, so moved to Orlando, stayed in Orlando for 6 years. It was a great place to be. I played with a great group of musicians, and I learned so much playing there. Again, I took a lot of auditions in that time before sort of moving up to DC.
Hmm. I bet that was a bit of a change from Eastman then to Michigan and then Orlando. Did you become a beach person?
So I'll tell you, so I grew up outside Boston, and it's cold in Boston, right? It's cold, it's north, we had snow, it's cold. But that, and then I went to Rochester. Again, lots of snow and very cold. But man, that year I spent in Lansing, Michigan was like the coldest winter of my life. Something about the wind, I don't know, it just like comes right from, I don't know, the Arctic, and there's like nothing in the way to stop that cold air. So cold. And then moved to Florida. And I never thought, growing up in the Northeast and always sort of living up in cold climates, I never felt like a sort of summer beach person. I moved to Florida. I'm like, man, I don't know why they ever built cities north of Florida. It's so nice down there, and the winters are great. It gets hot, but you know.
And then after 6 years, you had to move. Are you
So coming back.
are you in DC? Is that where you live now?
So we lived in DC for a while, but before our daughter was born, we moved just outside the city. We're in Maryland, Chevy Chase, just over the border. Mhm.
Um, and so what was that like? You've been taking so many auditions, and then finally, here's the National Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah, so the audition, I joined the NSO as assistant principal, and uh, the 6 years from in when I was in Orlando, it was basically 6 years of auditioning, and it was sort of a big roller coaster ride. Sometimes I'd advance to the finals, be runner up, or almost get the job, and then not quite, and then other times I wouldn't even advance. And I say that the hardest time was after these auditions when you put so much of yourself into it and you work so hard on these excerpts and you go in there and it doesn't work out. I would have this, I would always give myself some time flying back from a failed audition where I'd like buy some magazine on the flight on the way home to think about all the amazing other things I could be doing with my life to like help make the world a better place.
Mhm.
But I'd sort of wallow for a little bit, but then I've always said to my students and to anyone who's taking auditions, I think really the key to success is being able to brush yourself off and keep going. And if you can learn from these sort of failed auditions and sort of keep moving, keep your eye on what it is that you really want to do, you'll get there. It might take a while, but you can't be too discouraged from not winning.
I do love hearing stories like that. It is encouraging for some people out there who feel like I'm taking every audition and just hoping something sticks and knowing you're not alone. Others have done that too, and eventually something does stick, right?
Yeah, it's true. And the thing that I kind of kept as my guiding star, which is a challenge when we're working on all of these technical things to get the excerpts just right. But I think if you can keep the goal, both in your individual practice and as you're in the audition, as some higher purpose, some kind of expression, and if you make the goal, say, I'm going to work on making this like the most expressive, whatever it is, it'll sort of keep you pointed in the right direction. We can get very easily sidetracked by, oh, well, I need to get this to prove my worth, or I need to get this to show that I'm good enough. Uh, but those things really aren't, I think, the true path to get you where you'll need to go. So always the idea of expression and what can you do to make the greatest expression, play the most musically. I remember when I got out of Eastman, the one thing that I always had in my mind is like, God, if I could ever play one phrase that could like really touch someone, just like one phrase of music, then I will have succeeded and will have done it. So I think we get very easily sidetracked by a lot of the other stuff that comes along with auditioning and success and our own self-worth, but they are not really the thing.
And then after already being in the National Symphony Orchestra, you had to audition for your spot.
I did. So the principal flutist, Toshiko Kono, retired in my 6th year, I think it was, with the NSO. And I hadn't been taking auditions. I mean, when I got the job in the NSO, I remember being so excited. I'm like, finally, I can like burn up my excerpt book. I can take all those excerpts, like put them in the fire.
Oh.
But I always had the dream of being principal somewhere. I mean, I love the job as assistant, but was sort of an opportunity I felt like I couldn't pass up. And taking an audition for your own orchestra, I mean, like I said, I had taken a lot of auditions, but it was by far the most difficult audition that I had taken. And playing in front of your colleagues, like standing and knowing that they were all there and like sort of putting yourself out there that way, I felt more exposed and more vulnerable than I had in, I think, many of the other auditions that I had taken.
Mm-hmm.
And
But
actually, so the NSO was actually scheduled. So I'd been playing for years acting when Toshi retired. I started in September as acting principal, and the audition was in January. And we were leaving the day after my audition for a European tour. And I kept the whole time like, gosh, I hope it works out. If it doesn't work out, there's nowhere to hide when you go on tour with the orchestra. I mean, you're with each other all the time, and it never feels great not to win an audition. But I just had thoughts like, wow, I don't know how I'll get through the tour, but it sort of worked out. And actually, I decided to bring my family. So my daughter at the time of the audition, she was about 18 months. And normally bringing a baby on tour, I mean, it's a terrible idea. But yeah, for this one, I thought, okay, you got to come with me. If I don't win, like, I just got to spend time with you and you'll be my distraction. Anyway, I won the audition. I was very happy to win. And then I ended up with this baby on tour. And because I'm just like terrible orchestra tours, it's like you travel, you get to the city, you play, maybe you have an afternoon or morning off, and then you like travel some more, and then you play the next night. It's a sort of grueling schedule. It's not a very family-friendly schedule. And Evie at the time wouldn't sleep any time we were moving. So I was never again.
and it's survival.
Yep.
Coffee.
Coffee. We were talking a little bit before. I was never a coffee drinker until I had kids. Now I drink coffee.
And I said I was a coffee person before I had kids. I just now have more.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's fantastic. So I skipped right over. I don't know why I sent you a flow because I didn't follow it at all now, did I? But I wanted to talk a lot about what you've been doing during the pandemic. We're at a year now of quarantine time, as I call it, and you've been quite busy with virtual projects. Do you want to talk about any of those?
Sure. You know, when the pandemic, when it first started, the NSO was actually scheduled to go on an Asia tour. So the first thing that was canceled in our calendar was a tour to China and Japan. And I remember at the time, you know, we didn't know what was going to be happening. We thought maybe it might just stay over there. Of course, it didn't. But in the middle of it, we were like, this is a break in the middle of the season. And I've talked to a lot of other orchestral musicians who have the same thing which happened, which was, oh, you have a couple weeks off in the middle of the year. It's very unusual. So I thought, oh, it'd be nice to take a little break because we don't usually get those so much. And then it just kept extending and extending and extending. And I know this year has been hard for so many people in so many ways. For performing musicians, it's especially tough because so much of our life has been getting up and playing for people who can gather as a group. So after more time off the flute than I had had, I think as long as I can remember, it took a while to kind of get back. And it was actually an oboist in the orchestra who first asked me to play like a little snippet on this project she was doing, just a little Bach, a few bars of Bach. And just emotionally, I wasn't quite there ready to like pick up the flute again. But she asked me to do it. I said, okay, I'll do it. And I took out the flute and I played. And I'm like, you know what? I forgot. I really love this. Like, why aren't I doing this every day? So that kind of got me back into it. So I did her little project. And then since then, sort of been keeping up as much as I can, you know, with various projects that have sort of come along the way. So the NSO musicians themselves have done a weekly broadcast every Sunday evening on their Facebook and YouTube page. So I've been involved. I did a concert through them. It was my first quote unquote live performance in front of no audience, which felt very strange. Of course, we had done some of these recorded projects before where you put the headphones on and try to match up exactly with everyone else is going on. But with that, you can try a bunch of times and hopefully eventually you get it right. But I remember that live performance. Again, it had been months. It had been longer than I'd gone performing than ever in the past. And I had the video thing and I was going to go have the countdown, 3, 2, 1, go. And you forget how there's an excitement and the nerves and all of that other stuff that you spend your life sort of understanding about how to perform well. Uh, that all came flooding back. I'm like, there's no one here, but I'm nervous. How did that happen? Anyway, so I've done some of those. The NSO itself, like the orchestra, has had a few things in this past year, not very many. We haven't really gotten together as a group much. We just get off of a few weeks of making some videos with our music director, John Andrea Noceda, came in from Italy. I played a week of work with them. They'll be sending those out online at some point. But we did one performance live with an audience, a quintet concert at a time when DC, so Washington, DC has some pretty strict restrictions. So the Kennedy Center followed all of those. I think there could be 50 people in a space. And that included like the performers and the audience and any staff that was running it. So that was the one live performance I did to a very small audience. And that was in the Opera House. They built a huge stage extension and we were like as far away from the people as I could see them over there. But
still the energy of having someone there, you can kind of sort of see them, right?
Yeah. But not only that, so there's that piece of like having the audience and like being able to actually do what we do. But there's the other piece of being able to play with other people. I mean, the first time I went back to the concert hall was for a Memorial Day concert that was being taped last year. And there was a very small orchestra and we were very far spread apart. But I remember going back to the hall of the Kennedy Center, which really had felt like home for so long. I mean, we go there all the time and it's like, it's our place. And just hearing the other people warm up, there's a difference between hearing live music like on your skin. Somehow the sound waves hit you in a way that they don't over the computer. And when I felt it, it's like there was a limb that I hadn't realized was missing, which I kind of got back. So I'm very much looking forward to getting to do more live playing.
I think most of us are as well. I'm looking at some names here in the comments, and thanks for telling us where you're joining from. I'm most laughing maybe about in Illinois drinking coffee and made it Irish. So
Cheers.
Cheers. I did not, but I think that's wonderful. So some great friends here joining, and maybe they want to write in the comments too about looking forward to playing together in person someday. I really liked, you had a video that was posted on social media of you playing out your window.
Yeah. That was actually a good friend of ours, our principal of students, Sue Heineman, sort of ran up to the house and she was kind of outside and she said, "Oh, play me something." So I opened the window and sort of played out the window.
And if I understand correctly, the piece you were playing was a piece that you premiered, the world premiere virtually. Was that correct?
Yeah, so actually that was through a friend of mine. So Rose Grace, a wonderful pianist. She teaches down in Florida. And we were at Eastman. She accompanied me and we played together quite a bit when I was a student there. Anyway, she knew this composer friend and said, "Oh, we wrote this piece. You want to check it out?" So she sent it along, forwarded it off to me. And I thought it was a great piece and I thought it captured really well sort of the moment that we're in. And he wrote a piece about the birds in Central Park and how he wondered what they were thinking that there are no more people because there used to be a lot of people.
It was a fantastic piece and a fantastic performance of it. Do you feel that you prepared it differently knowing you'd be premiering it virtually?
Oh, for sure. First off, again, it was my first live performance in a long time. So yes, I made sure that I was prepared in a way that I hadn't been. Also, again, this idea that I hadn't been quite in shape. I realize in normal performing times, especially in an orchestra when we're very busy, like you don't ever really get out of shape because we're just playing all the time. So I was coming from a place where I was not in the best shape. So
didn't sound like that.
Thank you. I worked for it.
Have you been teaching virtually as well?
So yeah, so I've kept up with the virtual teaching. Yeah, at first when this whole thing went down, I said, this is not going to be possible. How can any of it happen virtually? How can you actually teach? But look, we all adjust. And the thing that I found most inspirational is my students. It's been incredible that they keep working and they are motivated and they're improving and they're going. And they've been the best inspiration for me because I'm like, you know what, if they can do it, I can do it too. So um, yeah, I've kept up with Zoom and I've tried all the different things. Zoom, FaceTime. You do the best you can.
Sure, sure. Um, and so another big thing coming up, maybe not right away, but we're planning ahead to the National Flute Association convention. Maybe not this year, but you're thinking a year ahead to 2022.
So 2022, the 50th anniversary convention of the NFA. I'm program chair with that for that, and we've been working on this now for a number of years. Granted, the pandemic sort of threw a lot of this stuff for a loop, but we are planning a great convention for 2022. There's, of course, going to be a virtual convention again this summer for 2021, which Jennifer Grimm is working very hard to sort of put together. So I encourage you all to check that out. And then book your tickets once you can for Chicago 2022 for the 50th. The idea is really what better time to kind of think about where we've been and where we're going and what's changed both in the world of flute playing, but in NFA itself. And, you know, there's so many things that have changed in the past 50 years and looking ahead to, gosh, what's it going to look like for the 100th anniversary of NFA? So there should be a lot of exciting things going on, and I hope you all would think about coming. Chicago's a great city, nice in the summer, and there are lots of exciting flute things. Really, one of the things that I want to celebrate, I mean, I want to take the celebration of NFA to really be a celebration of membership and to all of the people that sort of make NFA what it is, which is all the people who are members and think about joining and are part of the greater flute community. And really like I've always felt like music is a way that can just connect people, and we can use music to communicate and to sort of bring people together. And I think NFA is a great vehicle to do that. And they've been doing it for a long time, and we can do more of it. And let's celebrate all of us, and let's all come together and have a great time.
It will be nice too. For the 50th anniversary, we celebrate 50 years and we celebrate being back together.
Yeah.
We hope.
I'm not even crossing my fingers for that because we're going to do it. It's
Okay.
going to be there. I don't even need to hope for it. We're going to be able to do it, right?
Maybe I'm crossing my fingers for I'll get to hug people again.
I know.
And we'll sit down and have this cup of coffee together in person, maybe.
I will pack my mug.
There you go. I do love this mug.
Yeah.
Maybe it's too early, but do you have any like sneak peek, like secretive things you can tell us for the convention, or you can tell me no?
The secret things. Everything's going to be amazing. How's that for secret? Let's see.
I didn't warn you about that question, did I?
No, you didn't. All will be revealed in time, I guess. I don't want to get ahead of anything, but we are planning some exciting things. So keep an eye out on the NFA website and read your NFA newsletters and stay connected.
Good, very good. That was a good advertisement.
There you
go. So let's see here. I'm looking at my time. We have just a couple more minutes. So there was a question from social media, from Instagram, and maybe you've already answered it, but I'm going to say it again anyways, because maybe it'll spark something in your mind. This person said, how has the pandemic been for you artistically?
It's a good question. And like so many people in so many parts of the world, I think it really makes us question what we were doing and take stock of where we are. And it's been an interesting time to spend so much of my time alone with the flute. Again, we practice alone is kind of what we do, so we're used to it, but it's been a lot of time alone. And one of the things that I've gone back to in the pandemic, or sort of stayed on my music stand the whole time, have been Telemont Fantasies, which I've always loved, but I've spent more time on them on the pandemic than I had before, and I've discovered new things about them, and yeah, they've kind of kept me inspired through that. So I've enjoyed doing that. Um, I've also discovered just some things, again, like the emotional roller coaster of playing and not playing and wondering what the future of my given profession is going to be. Um, It's been a roller coaster, but within all that, I have discovered that the flute stuff can come back rather quickly. I mean, I used to always be a very sort of practicer. I like to practice a lot and would, yeah, that's how I would be comfortable. And sort of with this up and down, I've discovered that, you know what, it's okay. Like, it'll come back. That piece comes back. The harder thing to come back, at least for me personally, has been just the performance piece and getting up and being able to perform at your best. That sort of is a muscle that is, I think, best served with exercise. And we haven't been able to exercise that so much. But, yeah.
That's a very good point. I do feel like my anxiety as a performer is better when you're just always doing it.
For sure. Yeah. So I know we all have techniques and we all have these things that we've done and throughout time, but yeah, it's nice to get to practice those things for real. Yeah.
Besides the Telemont Fantasies, are there any other pieces that you've been enjoying playing? Maybe something new you've discovered that I'm now going to have to go and buy?
So basically, most of my time has been practicing. You know, I'll do mostly like scales and exercises and just all the stuff that you need to do to kind of keep things going and to be able to do what you need to do on a regular basis. So I like doing those things. So I've usually go into the practice room and do some harmonics, do some scales, just kind of make sure that the fingers are actually really working the way they should. I always thought, you know, virtuosic technique comes not from how fast you can play the scales on the metronome, but how fast your individual fingers are moving. And unfortunately, it's not like riding a bike. It's not like, oh, you have virtuosic technique. Yay, there you go. You're done. Just the ability to move the fingers quite quickly takes sort of constant upkeep. So I found when I had taken some time off that, yeah, I had to remember how to do that. So doing, for me, what I like to call super slow practice. So I'll do scales with the metronome on 60 and just do one note per click and making sure I'm moving my fingers really exactly on that click and as late and as fast as possible will help the fingers move in a balanced way. You know, it goes back to, I heard when I was in Florida, and I'd already been playing professionally, like I had good enough technique to sort of do what I needed to do. But James Galway came and soloed with the Orlando Philharmonic. And I just remember hearing him warm up playing scales. And I was trying to think, like, what is it that's better about his scales than everyone else's scales? Like, what is that? And I really thought about trying to figure that out. And it's not that he could necessarily play them faster, but it was, which he could, but it was just that every finger was like perfectly balanced. And I think it was like, how does he do that? And how do you get to the point where your technique goes from like, hey, really good technique, you can get a job and you can play, to the kind of virtuosic technique where everything sounds easy. So yeah, the super slow practice to me gives me enough time to get all of my consciousness into the actual muscle that's moving. And you really need time to really focus on that and make sure that it's moving quite quickly. Now, there's a danger in that, of course, that when you move quickly, that you also sort of push and that you are a little bit hard. And those things shouldn't be the same. They're opposites. You can still move quickly and be very light. And this is something that I got from my Alexander technique teacher. I'm a big proponent of Alexander technique. I think it helps in every bit of life. Where she talked about the fingers don't necessarily even have to go up and down. They can sort of go in circles. They don't really do that when you're playing the flute, but the idea is instead of pushing, you just rest at the bottom of a circle. So it can be light and fast. I don't know how I got on that. What were you asking me about? Oh, what else I like to play? Scales. I like to play scales.
That was amazing. And I just learned so much from you. So I was just taking a moment to just let that sink in and seeing who else is watching right now. I hope you all really took notes of that. That was fantastic. So your fun thing is scales, though. Sometimes I feel like I'm such a nerd when it's like, yeah, I just like to play scales. But
I love to play scales.
Outside of playing, though, fun things. Are you binge watching something? Are you doing the jigsaw puzzles? What is your fun thing?
Oh, so I'll tell you, the jigsaw puzzle is trouble. So we did a puzzle. My husband and I did a puzzle. Problem is, once we did it, like it's all we could focus on. And we're like, children, what? Are they burning the house down? I don't know. We're like trying to get more pieces than each other. So we did like one puzzle, and then that was we couldn't do anymore because we needed to raise the children. But outside of flute stuff, basically when I think back about this year, and the thing I want to remember is spending all the time with the kids, and we've had a lot of great family time. And yeah, we've discovered parts like parks that, like every single possible park. We drive over to the Chesapeake and find like every little bay and cove. We've been to like every single one we can find. But it's been great. I got to say, the pandemic has been amazing for the amount of family time that we get. And I don't want to lose that. So our oldest she's 9. And I'll tell you, she really wants this to be over. Like she'd be very happy to go back to normal. But she said to me the other day, she said, the one good thing about Corona is that you can put me to bed every night. And it's true. I mean, I've been home for more bedtimes this year than I usually ever am. So.
This is back a little bit from what you said, but competitive puzzling.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. So we don't do it. We haven't done any more puzzles. No more puzzle. Our little one, he's super into puzzles, but when it's a kid puzzle,
the pieces are that big. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I always know that it's time for the Flutespresso episode to come to an end when I can see the bottom of my cup. I don't know about you, but I'm almost there. So we take a little collective drink, and then there was a great comment, though, that I didn't point out. I don't know if you saw this from Jane. When I heard you play Brahms' 4th excerpt, you not only touched me, but changed how I do music.
Oh, that's very nice, Jane. Thank you for that. Well, I will say Brahms 4, I think, is really one of our most heart-wrenching excerpts. I always tell people when I'm teaching this that whenever you play this in an audition, it has to be like the heart and soul of your audition. Like if you don't play, you got to make the committee weep in every round. Yeah, that's the one that they have to be crying when you play that one. So.
I do love that excerpt. So I didn't want to skip that, but now I think we're on to our Flutespresso Express round.
Ooh.
Yes. So for those of you new to Flutespresso, this is a this or that round. I'm going to give you 2 choices. You have to pick one or the other. The idea is for it to be kind of quick, like a lightning round. You are allowed to skip.
Okay, I'm nervous.
Oh, you should be. I think it'll be okay, though. No worries here. Are we ready? I'm not timing this. I don't know why I'm counting it in. All right, here we go. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Easy. Alto flute or bass flute?
Ooh, bass flute.
Dogs or cats?
Oh, we don't have either. Bunnies? I don't know. We don't have bunnies either. In the backyard, they're cute. We watch them bounce around, but.
Would you rather be somewhere where it's snowy, playing in the snow, or on the beach?
Oh, the beach, the beach, the beach.
Playing with the full orchestra or chamber music?
Oh, I would say full orchestra, but mostly because, there have been a lot of discussions about this lately because most of the stuff we're doing is small as chamber music. And I did a talk actually with some donors the other night, and this was brought up. But, to me, it's like chamber. I love chamber music. I love playing an orchestra. I mean, really, it's the idea of communicating with other musicians, which is the thing that I find enjoyable. The hard thing is, when you play in full orchestra, it's like doing chamber music, but with like 98 other people, and some of them are really far away. So it's like you have to do kind of the same thing, but it's expanded and harder to do because there are more of them. It's like negotiating with 100 people at the same time instead of just 3. This was lightning round. I'm sorry. You keep going.
Oh, it was great, though. It was great. And I got another sip of coffee, so thank you.
There you go.
Facebook or Instagram?
Well, only Facebook, but just because I'm old, I guess. I don't have Instagram.
You're not old. Mozart in D or G?
Oh, well, D, I guess, because, well, yeah, okay, D. It just came out. It was the first one I learned. When I was younger, it was the first one I did. So.
Yeah. Vanilla or chocolate?
Oh, vanilla. Definitely vanilla.
Brahms or Mahler?
Oh, that's impossible. Impossible.
Just say both.
I will say, so I'll say both. How's that? Both. Mahler symphonies, though, I do find are very draining. I find at the end of a week doing Mahler in the orchestra, it's like I need a vacation. So it's tough, I think, playing Mahler.
Sure. Since you're in DC, and I forgot to look up what the name of your public transportation is there. I
The
feel
Metro.
so would you rather drive or take the Metro?
Bike.
Oh, I don't know why I didn't think of that. Fantastic. Do you practice in the morning or the evening?
Whenever I can, but I'd always choose morning if I could.
Mm-hmm. Gold flute, silver flute?
So gold flute, I have, I played gold. Actually, since I first bought my first gold flute from Robert, it was an Arista flute that Robert sold to me as my first gold flute, and I've never gone back.
Thanks, Robert.
Yes, thank you, Robert.
Pizza or hot dogs?
Oh, ooh.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm neither. I don't know.
I was going to say, is that both or neither?
No, it's kind of neither.
That's okay.
Pizza.
I was thinking, being, the National Symphony, we go for something truly American. I could have said, hot dogs or apple pie, maybe.
Apple pie.
There we go.
Apple, for sure. I would eat apple pie any day.
Fantastic. This one's not of this or that, but for the last one, what's your favorite excerpt to play?
Ooh, that's really tough. I don't know. Any of those French ones, Afternoon of a Faun, I think it was amazing. And I will say, so, I've done the chamber version of Afternoon of a Faun, but I've actually never played it in orchestra. And in fact, my very first Afternoon of a Faun, like full orchestra version, was going to be this season with Christoph Eschenbach, but of course it was canceled. So yeah, I've never played it in orchestra. There's some of those pieces that, I just wonder why they haven't come up so far. I've been playing professionally for all these years, and that was going to be my first. And I did my very first Petrushka 2 seasons ago.
Oh.
I was surprised that hadn't come up more either. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
I know. Funny how those things.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here and having a cup of coffee with me today. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for asking me. Thank you all for watching. And yeah, it's been fun.
Yes. Thank you everyone for joining. If you haven't commented yet, please do join our giveaway. You'll get a signed mug signed by Aaron Goldman, and you'll see his cute little drawing. We posted the picture on Facebook earlier this week, so you can check that out. But please do comment. Tell us where you were watching from, what you were drinking. And thank you so much, Aaron. This was fantastic.
It's been fun. Thanks again.